Hi guys, today we're going to talk about budgeting. I know we mentioned it and we started on it this week, but today we're going to talk about the steps in budgeting and things you'll need to know in order to do the rest of the budgeting assignments. So let's start talking about the components of a budget. The components are income, or the money you have coming into your household, and expenses. And there's different types of expenses. There's fixed, there's flexible, and there's discretionary. Now income, one thing you need to be aware of, there is a difference between gross income and net income. Now gross income is the amount of money you earn before anything is taken out for taxes or deductions. For example, if you worked 40 hours a week for $10 an hour, your gross income would be $400 for the week. Now net income is the amount of money you have after taxes and deductions, such as health insurance premiums or maybe a 401k, have been taken out of your gross income. For example, even though your monthly salary might be $3,500, you might only receive a check for $2,500. In that case, your net income would be $2,500, but your gross income is $3,500. You always prepare your budget based on your net income, since that's the amount of money you will be receiving, not your gross income. Net income is also called take-home pay. That's the amount you're going to be putting into your household. So fixed expenses are expenses that are regular payments, such as rent, a house payment, a car payment, or insurance premiums. They're the same amount every month at the same time every month. So you know that they won't be changed. Now, of course, you could change insurance premiums by adding or deleting a car or upping your deductible, but you can't on the short term. It would be a longer term. So fixed expenses are regular payments that occur at the same time every month. Then you have flexible expenses. They're also called variable expenses because flexible expenses are regular expenses that you have some control over. You know they're going to happen, but you know that the amount may vary and you can have some control over it, like a utility bill. For example, your power bill, you could turn some more lights off, or you could vary your usage of electricity to give a lower bill. Maybe turn your thermostat lower. There's clothing. You know, you have to have clothing, but you don't necessarily have to have designer labels. So you can choose what type of clothing you buy. And groceries. You know, you have to eat. You know, you're going to buy groceries, but you don't have to buy the expensive food. And finally, there's discretionary expenses. And discretionary expenses is spending within your control. There are things that are nice to do when you have the money, but you don't have to do it. For example, entertainment, or music downloads, or magazines, or cosmetics, or impulse buying. You know, it's nice when you have the money, but you don't have to have it immediately. You can plan to buy that. So the steps for creating a budget. The first thing you want to do is evaluate your income. How much money you have coming into your household. And remember, you're doing that based on the net income or your take-home pay, not your gross pay. Next, you want to evaluate your expenses. And after you evaluate your expenses, you can see where you may be overspending in a category. You want to keep everything written down. You want to enter your income and expenses into a blank budget sheet. And you want to analyze whether your income will cover the expenses outlined in your budget. When you analyze it, then you will know what will be the next steps you need to take. So the budgeting tools that you can use for this is a spending diary. Could be as simple as a spiral notebook to just write everything down that you spend. You could use a monthly payment calendar, and that would allow you to keep everything down on the day that it's due. You have an evaluation of your spending, and the benefits of using the calendar, it would be easy to track your due dates of the payments that you have to make. You can avoid late payments. If you have the bills written on the calendar, you can keep up when they're due. And you can also schedule your payments to coincide with the income that you have coming into your household. Knowing what you have to be spent, you can spend it on discretionary expenses. And remember, discretionary are the things that you don't have to have. Makes life a little more fun, but you don't have to have it. And if you keep everything written down, you won't blow your budget on something that you shouldn't be spending on right now. And also, when you keep a calendar, you know how much money you have left for the month at any time. That keeps you from having too much month left at the end of your money. So the advantages of creating a budget. It allows you to plan ahead for expenses. It reduces your money-related anxiety because you know how much you will have coming in and how many bills you have to spend on. It helps to avoid overspending because you won't blow your budget before the power bill comes in. It helps you to create a savings plan, and it also helps to avoid late fees and additional interest charges associated with late payments. Because a lot of times if you miss a payment, your creditors are going to charge you a late fee, and that's going to cost you more money. So ways to cut expenses and save your money: adjust your flexible expenses. And remember, those are the variable ones, the ones that you know that you have, but you can have some control over, like a power bill, like clothing, things like that you know you have to spend money on, but you can choose what you spend your money on. You can plan your discretionary expenses, and we always call that the fun money, things like going to the movie, going out to eat. It's nice to have a treat, but you want to make sure that you're not overspending by doing things like that and not paying a bill that needs to be paid, like your mortgage or your car payment. Also, don't carry cash. It's too easy to spend it, and you can only spend it one time. Once it's gone, it's gone. You also want to pay off debt as quickly as possible, especially if you have something like a credit card bill, because the longer it takes you to pay it off, the more interest that you will have, they will charge you, and the larger your bill will get, so the more money it will cost you in the long run. Also, you want to control your use of credit cards. It's very tempting, and it's very tempting to be impatient and want something right now. But if you overspend on your credit cards, you're going to incur an interest rate if you don't pay it off before the due date. So it's going to cost you more money in the long run. You also want to pay your bills on time so you can avoid late fees. Also, save your change. Put it in a jar, and once it builds up, take it to the bank and put it in the savings account. And you've got a savings account without any pain to it. And you also want to open a savings account. It's important to have a savings account for several different reasons. One is you need to have an emergency fund for things that break, like when your car tears up, or maybe when the furnace goes out, or something happens that you're not expecting it. Also, you want to plan for future expenses, like maybe birthday gifts or Christmas or taking a vacation or buying a car. You want to always plan ahead for things you're going to spend your money on. And then finally, and this is important, always pay yourself first. It's hard to do because you always want to pay your bills and there's always something to spend money on. But it's a good habit to always pay yourself first and put your money in the savings account for your emergency fund, for future expenses, for your planned purchases, and maybe for retirement, saving for a house, saving for a car, because you can always come up with something to spend your money on, but it's important to save your money.